The United Nations Security Council, we want an insurance policy.
Renaissance Dam and its effects and the existential threat that it poses, I think only reinforces the competence and the necessity for the Council to address this issue. And I think every member will have to provide the justification why they would not address this issue and determine the Council, especially since the draft resolution once again reiterates every single thing that was said by the Council members in supporting the African-led negotiations, that it should be reinstated as soon as possible, that it should be enhanced by the presence of the observers, that the three countries should reach a legally binding agreement that regulates the filling and operation of the Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. The draft resolution has nothing other than those elements. Those elements were echoed in the statements of the members of the Council. So I'm confident that there should be a demonstration of what was said by the endorsement and the adoption of the draft resolution.
Mr. Minister, you said in the Council that Egypt will not tolerate and cannot tolerate the current situation. So are there circumstances where you would consider military action?
The matter of Egypt's protection of the rights of its citizen is inherent and is a matter that necessarily any responsible government would apply itself to. We have been in negotiations now for 10 years. We have indicated our good faith, our flexibility, and will continue to. And in coming to the Security Council, I think is the ultimate demonstration of our desire that the international community assists the three countries at this very dangerous juncture in terms of alleviating the tensions and encouraging the return to negotiations and to conclude those negotiations. As the Minister of Water of Ethiopia said, he seems very willing to embark upon negotiations that he is equally unwilling to terminate, to come to a conclusion. If that is the tactic, as has been for the last decade, then I don't see any resolution of the conflict. But Egypt is committed to the principles and purposes of the Charter of the United Nations, will continue to demonstrate every flexibility and desire to support the African Union process, but at the same time, it will recognizably defend the interests of its citizens, their livelihoods, with all means available at its disposal.
معالي الوزير معظم الكلمات في كل المحاولات الجادة من الدبلوماسية المصرية لوأد هذه الفتنة بين الدول الثلاث، وكانت كلمة سيادتك دالة كثير على هذا الأمر، وأيضا كان هناك تعاون كبير بين مصر والسودان، وتحاول مصر جاهدة أن تذهب إلى الحل السلمي، ولكن هناك تعنت، ما زال التعنت الأثيوبي مستمر. بماذا تفسر سيادتك هذا التعنت؟
كل الإجراءات التي اتخذتها إثيوبيا على مدى العشر سنوات الماضية، الارتكان دائما إلى المظلومية التي ليست لها أساس من الواقع، لتجنب الدخول في اتفاق ملزم مجرد ينظم عملية الملء والتشغيل للسد. مصر أقرت بأحقية إثيوبيا في إقامة السد، في الاستفادة من المياه، رغم ما قاله وزير الري الإثيوبي الآن. لم تعترض مصر على إقامة السد، ولم تعترض على استغلال إثيوبيا للنيل كمورد للتنمية، وإنما طالبت بأن يتم حماية مصالح مصر المائية وحماية أمن مصر المائي من الأضرار المحتملة في حالة عدم إدارة وملء السد بشكل فيه مسؤولية وفيه مراعاة لمصالح شعبي مصر والسودان. سوف نستمر في دعوة الأشقاء في إثيوبيا بأن يتحلوا بالقواعد القانون الدولي والالتزام بالأعراف الدولية والتجارب في أرجاء العالم التي وصلت إلى حلول. هذا التعنت وهذا الدوائر المفرغة من المفاوضات اللانهائية لا يمكن أن تستمر. لابد أن تكون أي جولة قادمة إذا ما أقر مجلس الأمن ودعم التوجه للرئاسة الأفريقية أن تتم هذه المفاوضات في إطار زمني محدد وبوجود دور متقدم للمراقبين حتى يستطيعوا أن يعاونوا الأطراف على التوصل إلى هذا الاتفاق.
Minister, a quick question. Based on the draft resolution by the Security Council, there is a time limit of 6 months. Now we have seen that the rhetoric have increased among the people. I'm not speaking about the governments, the people of Egypt, people of Sudan, people of Ethiopia. There was just today a large demonstration outside of the UN from the Ethiopian residents here in the United States and citizens. What will be the situation when the 6 months pass and we continue on the same pattern of prolonging the negotiations to reach to nowhere? What is the options by the Egypt and Sudan in this regard? Thank you.
Well, if we take the words of the Minister of Water of Ethiopia at heart, he has mentioned that a great progress has been achieved in the negotiating an agreement, that it is possible to reach an agreement. So we don't see why that should not be the case within the 6 months period, to contend that it is not. Unfortunately, the minister did not give any explanation why Ethiopia refused in Kinshasa to accept the reinitiation of negotiations, why it did not accept in the final document of the Kinshasa meeting that it would be clearly stated that the purpose of these meetings is to reach a legally binding agreement on the filling and operation of the Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. I think it's incumbent on the international community to recognize all of these issues and to interpret them in the right way. But certainly negotiations of a never-ending nature, with at the same time the continuation of the construction of the GERD and its unilateral filling, really creates a situation where negotiations are counterproductive and will not reach any conclusion other than to reinforce the unilateral nature of the Ethiopian policies.
الوزير رضا أبو شفرة من سكاي نيوز عربية. اليوم خلال كلمته قال المندوب الروسي اقترح وساطة بين الأطراف. ما هو تعليقكم على ذلك؟ شكرا.
نحن نرحب بكل الجهود التي قد تبذل على المستوى الدولي، كل الأطراف التي لها القدرة والرغبة.
We are welcoming all the efforts of all entities from all over the world to be mediating, and we are accepting all the efforts of mediating and from the Russian Federation, specifically at the United Nations Security Council, to be supporting the decision and the statements made by the representatives of the envoy or the representative of the Russian Federation regarding the stance towards Egypt and Ethiopia in this situation. The next step is at the United Nations Security Council, and the representatives and the members of the Security Council, they should be carrying the responsibility, upholding this responsibility of resolving the issues and the conflicts peacefully, and pushing forward the cooperation and coordination between the African countries. The international community should be upholding its responsibility. The representatives of Russia and France have mentioned that they could be mediating between the three countries. How do you see the stance of France and Russia in this situation? We need to find a legally binding agreement, but the Ethiopian side is refusing to enter into such an agreement. He doesn't even call it an agreement, but regulations and guidance, guiding lines. He refuses to accept the rules of filling and operating the dam in the times of drought specifically. And we need to ensure the people of Egypt and Sudan especially during the times of drought. We need to know how the Ethiopian Renaissance Dam would be dealt with by the Ethiopians. And this is the point that the Ethiopian minister refused to mention and didn't mention during his speech. He should be listening to the international community.